While hotels are generally safe places, there are still risks that don't always make the headlines. One of those hidden risks is the hotel swimming pool. By the 1980s and 1990s, many hotel chains began moving away from pools with deep ends. For those who can swim, the deep end might feel like the fun part. But for many others, especially kids and inexperienced swimmers, it can be very dangerous. Hotels want to be seen as family friendly and trustworthy. The safer the environment appears, the easier it is for them to reduce expenses elsewhere, like on insurance and pool upkeep. One serious accident can put a hotel at risk of lawsuits and long-term damage to its reputation. So over time, removing deep ends became a standard safety and liability decision. In this video, we're looking back at one such tragic incident that highlights why these changes were made. This is the story of the 1993 Ramada Hotel drownings. When staying at a hotel, especially as a kid or teen, hotels are one of the more exciting parts. There's always the hope that it has a swimming pool. For most kids, that's where they want to go right away, before even unpacking. That's what happened during a trip back in April 7, 1993, when two families from Brooklyn were part of a large group heading to Andover, Massachusetts. The families involved were the Yees and the Chins. They were part of a close Chinese American community back in New York, and many of the kids on this trip were related. The Chin kids were George, Vincent, Winston, Paul, and Lillian. They were accompanied by their three cousins and their father, Stephen Yee. The trip itself had been made possible thanks to Stephen Yee, the uncle of the Chin kids, who paid for their travel and stay. The Chin family had recently gone through a rough time. Their dad, who worked as a waiter, had lost his job after the World Trade Center bombing earlier that year in February, and when it reopened, he was not rehired. Their mom worked in a garment factory and it didn't pay well, so money was tight. But thanks to their uncle, the kids got the opportunity to join the trip. By the time they arrived at the Ramada Rolling Green Hotel in Andover, it was already around 9 p.m. The entire tour group was large, around 100 people, and they had booked almost 40 rooms. It took time for everyone to settle in, but the Yee and Chin families were among the first to check in and head to their rooms. They had been traveling for hours and everyone was tired. Stephen Yee, the only adult with the kids, decided to take a shower and wind down. At some point earlier, maybe while waiting in the lobby, the kids had spotted the hotel's indoor swimming pool. It's not clear if they told Stephen where they were going, but once they were in their rooms, a few of them quietly changed into their swimwear and slipped out to the pool. What they didn't realize was that the pool was already closed. The sign on the door said it shut down at 10 p.m., and there was another sign that warned there would be no lifeguard on duty. That's something that would have been required back in New York, where local law mandates a lifeguard or attendant be present during pool hours. But in Massachusetts, that wasn't the case. Hotels didn't have to provide a lifeguard no matter how deep the pool was. And this particular pool was fairly deep. It had a shallow end of 5 feet or 1.5 meters and a deep end that reached down to 9 feet or 2.7 meters. A floating rope across the middle marked the change in depth. There was also a notice saying no kids under 14 should be in the pool without adult supervision. But the signs were probably easy to miss if you weren't looking for them, especially if you were excited to jump in the water. From what we know, 5 of the kids made their way to the pool. George and Vincent, who were 16-year-old twins, their younger brother Winston, and their older brother Paul, and their cousin Stephen. Only Vincent and Winston got into the water. George stayed outside the pool, Stephen recorded everything on a video camera, and Paul watched from a window nearby. A maintenance worker at the hotel saw the boys in the pool. He didn't say anything or report it to the front desk. Why he didn't is unclear. Maybe he thought the kids had permission, or maybe he didn't think it was his responsibility. Either way, nothing was said. At first, everything seemed fine. Vincent and Winston started in the shallow end where they could stand. They splashed around and played like any kids would. But eventually, they drifted closer to the rope that separated the shallow side from the deep end. No one knows for sure if they realized what the rope meant. Maybe they didn't think much of it. Maybe they didn't know how quickly the death would change. But once they crossed over, things went wrong quickly. Neither Vincent nor Winston knew how to swim. As soon as they reached the deeper section, they couldn't touch the bottom anymore, and that's when they started to panic. The others, George, Stephen, and Paul, watched at first, not sure what was happening. It probably looked like the two boys were just fooling around, but when they didn't come back up right away, it became clear something was wrong. They threw a life ring into the pool, but panic had already taken hold. When someone's afraid and doesn't know how to swim, it's hard for them to focus or grab onto something, even if it's right in front of them. George saw his brother struggling and made a split-second decision. He jumped in to try to save them, even though he couldn't swim either. It was an act of love and desperation. But instead of helping, he ended up fighting for his life. Now, all the brothers were in the deep end of the pool, desperately trying to get their heads above the water. What started as a quick dip in the pool turned into a terrifying situation in just minutes. There were no adults nearby, no hotel staff, and the pool area, though just steps away from the busy lobby, had become completely silent. While all of this was unfolding, the hotel manager and another employee were already on their way to check the area. It was part of their usual routine to make sure no guests were still swimming after closing time. But just before they got there, they were stopped by the same maintenance worker who had seen the kids earlier. He casually started a conversation and held them up for a bit. During the entire time they spoke, he never once mentioned that there were unsupervised children in the pool. Meanwhile, Stefan, who had been recording his cousins just moments before, was now desperately trying to get someone for help. He started running through the hotel hallways, yelling for help and banging on random doors in a panic, hoping someone would answer. But no one did. The hallways were mostly empty and quiet. Eventually, the manager and employees heard Stefan's cries and rushed with him towards the pool. When they got there, they found all three boys, George, Vincent, and Winston, motionless at the bottom of the pool. In that moment, things escalated from confusion to a crisis. The hotel manager jumped into the water and pulled the boys out one by one. But this was where the second problem came in. None of the employees had any real rescue or life-saving training. The manager did his best trying to resuscitate them, but without proper skills, there was only so much he could do. The other two staff members just stood nearby, unable to help. At the same time, Paul, who had watched the entire situation unfold from a window, ran as fast as he could back to his uncle's hotel room. He pounded on the door, shouting for help, but his uncle was still in the shower and couldn't hear him at first. By the time they came out and opened the door, it was already too late. He was met with the kind of news no adult ever expects to hear. 3 of his nephews were in trouble and they needed him now. Stephen and Paul rushed to the pool together. When they got there, the manager was still trying to revive the boys, but time was slipping away. There's no clear record of exactly how long the kids had been underwater, but every second counts in that kind of situation. With even basic aquatic rescue knowledge, things might have turned out differently. But because no one on staff knew what to do, the opportunity to save them slipped away. Sadly, Vincent and Winston were pronounced dead at the scene. George, though unresponsive, still had a faint sign of life and was rushed to the hospital. The family held on to hope through the night, but by the following morning, George had also sadly passed away. The loss of all 3 boys was overwhelming for both families. Stephen Yee was overcome with guilt. As the only adult with the kids, he believed he should have been there to stop it or do something. But the heartbreak was deepest for the Chin parents. Losing one child is devastating. Losing 3 at once is something that's hard to even process. Back at the hotel, the incident sent Ramada into damage control. They knew the situation was bad, and the decisions made by their staff didn't help either. Once it became clear that their employees failed to act and lacked basic training, the hotel tried to settle the matter quietly. They offered the Chin family a $1.8 million settlement, but the family refused. Instead, they decided to sue. They filed a wrongful death and negligence lawsuit against the hotel. Their goal wasn't just about compensation, they wanted change. Their hope was that the case would push Massachusetts to adopt new rules requiring lifeguards at hotel pools, just like in New York. During the trial, the Chin family's attorney argued that the hotel chose to save money by skipping safety measures like fencing off the pool or hiring lifeguards. The pool area, they said, should have been more secure, especially for a hotel that welcomed large groups and families. The fact that the maintenance worker didn't speak up was another major point in the case. But the jury was divided. Some agreed with the family, others weren't convinced the hotel was fully responsible. In the end, the jury couldn't reach a decision, and the judge declared a mistrial on February 1996. Unfortunately, after that, the story faded from public attention. There isn't much else available about what happened following the mistrial. No retrial, no follow-up decision, no updates. I don't know if the case was ever resolved or any actions were ever done. After the boys were laid to rest, the Chin family decided to honor them by starting a foundation in their names. The goal was to give back to the Brooklyn community to help others in need and to create something positive in the wake of tragedy. Despite their efforts, the rules in Massachusetts didn't change in the way they'd hoped. The state's Department of Public Health sets the requirements, and lifeguards are only mandated for certain pools based on the size and capacity. For pools that don't meet those thresholds, hotels are simply required to post a warning sign that says no lifeguard is on duty. That's where things currently stand. The signs are there, the rules are technically followed, but whether that's enough to keep something like this from happening again, that's still a question left hanging. Although most hotels in the US don't have deep ends in their pools, there are still exceptions to that. Some hotels that are more independent than their more larger hotel chains counterparts might still have deep ends in their pools. If you're ever with family and kids, always to make sure that proper supervision is there and to make sure there are safety measures in place. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. I put in a lot of effort into my videos and always aim to give you the best experience possible. I would appreciate it if you can like, subscribe, and comment to help my videos get pushed to a wider audience so that one day I can offer you a much better experience. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.